It was my very first day of third grade, and I was so excited because we had just moved to a new town, so this was a new adventure. New school, new friends to make, and my pair of brand new glasses. And I was out standing on this playground, I'm sure looking like the new kid, and another kid walked up to me. He was about my height, had this thick dishwater blonde hair that looked like it had never seen a comb, and he said, "Hey, want to fight?" And I said, "No." "Well, I do." And then he jumped me. And next thing I know, I am in a headlock and I am just getting pummeled and the punches are just coming and coming and coming. Now, I'm 8 years old. Getting beat up is new for me. And I just, and I can feel my face being squeezed and it feels my hair's being ripped out of my scalp. And the punch, bam, another punch and another punch. And finally, he loosens his grip enough. And I remember I just pulled away and I remember looking down in the dirt and everything's blurry. My glasses. And I reach down and pick them up and they're broken. And I look up and there's Buddy, the school bully. Perfect name for a school bully, right? Looking at me, and now he looks scared, staring at the kid who just broke his glasses. And all I can think is, run, get away as fast as you can. And that's what I did. I got home that evening and I'm just crying, and my mom, she set me in her lap and she put her arm around me and she said, "Bub, you did the right thing to not fight back. You just turn the other cheek and they'll leave you alone." Well, mom's always right? So that's what I did. And so fourth grade came, and it was Colin with his red hair and his freckled face. And I turned the other cheek and he didn't leave me alone. And in fifth and sixth grade, it was Greg with his rooster strut. And I never fought back and he never left me alone. And then it was Santos Garcia in 7th and 8th grade, the star running back. And then Dean and Robert. And I never fought back and they never left me alone. In high school, it was this little punk named Rawl who would punch me every day in the locker room and just punch me. And I just took it. I never did anything. My friend Bobby Flick would say, "Why don't you stand up to him? Don't let him push you around." And Bobby was right, but by then I was too afraid. And so I just hid out. Now, I never thought of myself as being bullied. It was just life. It was just the way things were. Turn the other cheek became avoid confrontation at all costs, and eventually you accept the fact you're not worth standing up for. My first adult bully actually showed up my senior year in high school. We just moved to another new town again, and I played basketball. And it was rumored that I could be the best basketball player on the team. On a team in Dalhart, Texas that was supposed to win state that year. The only problem was I was the new kid, and Coach Reeves did not like it. The very first game, I missed a layup, first quarter. He benched me, and I never played again. And I remember him telling me in his office later that week, he said, "You can stay on the team if you want to, and you can sit on the bench, or you can quit." And so I quit. I graduated from college, got my first job, and I got bullied. I got married, and I was bullied in my marriage. Not because my wife was a bully, but because I would never stand up for anything. I would just run away in fear. 17 years of marriage, and not a single fight because I always turned the other cheek. Until one day, you just can't take it anymore, and you break out of the headlock of your marriage and your family, and you just run away. And that's what I did, only now that what's broken is a lot more than a pair of glasses. And how I felt? Kind of like a reality TV show. Helpless, ashamed, guilty, and afraid. Now, typically, we think of bullying as a childhood problem. Yes, it is a childhood problem, yet many are shocked to realize that one of the greatest oppressors of our time is adult bullying. Now, what is adult bullying? Well, it's this. From a 1942 ad campaign by Charles Atlas. Now, granted, that is not a textbook definition, but sometimes a comic book definition is more clear and realistic. Sand in the face and a little show of power to make you afraid. And it plays out countless times every day all over the world. In the workplace, when the boss threatens an employee, if you want to keep your job, shut up. Or maybe it's a coworker who rudely walks in late to your presentation just to throw you off your game. In an online survey over 2,000 adults last year were conducted on behalf of the American Osteopathic Association. 31% of the respondents said they had been bullied as adults. The Harrison Psychological Associates reported a survey of 9,000 federal employees. Of those, 57% said they had been bullied in the last 2 years. And yes, I confirmed the government does have an anti-bullying policy. That very study estimated that the cost of bullying to those federal organizations at over $90 million a year. But much more significant and more pervasive than the impact of bullying on businesses and corporations and organizations' balance sheets is the internal and personal impact on the individual, on the victim, the target, the person. And see, adult bullying is not limited to the workplace. It's just as prevalent in the home, in our families, in relationships, in marriages, in our communities, on the street, if you've driven in rush hour traffic lately, on the beach, everywhere. Or even more, even when it isn't the external results or damage that's as impactful as the internal repercussions, the emotional and psychological damage to people's self-worth, to their confidence, and to their dignity. See, the first big truth that we have to understand about bullying is how personal it is. I understand bullying isn't a big deal if you haven't been bullied. It's kind of like, the difference between major surgery and minor surgery. If I have it, it's major. If you have it, it's minor. And that's just the way that's the way people feel about bullying. If I haven't been bullied, then that can't relate. So it must not be a big problem. And all the corporate anti-bullying policies typically are created by people in positions of power who have never been bullied. And yes, it's very personal when you're the one being bullied. Even when others tell you, oh, no, don't take it personal. Oh, don't let it bother you, little boy. Psychotherapist Janice Harmon at Psych Central suggests bullying is not about you. You're not the one with the problems. You shouldn't ever take bullying personally. Excuse me, counselor. With all due respect, when you're the one getting punched or threatened every day, it's personal. When a coworker accuses you of saying something you didn't say, and yes, now I have the problem caused by the one with the problem, it's personal. When a bullying husband tells his wife every day how worthless she is, it's personal. The second big truth about bullying is how helpless you feel. Now, this may come as a shock to some of you, but the real issue is not the bully. It's the fear. It's the feeling of helplessness to do anything about it. See, the effect of bullying is like living under a cloud of constant fear and shame and anxiety that suffocates your self-worth, your personal strength, and it kills your dreams. That's the real cost of bullying. And for me, it was this feeling that I couldn't stand up for myself. I always did good. I always did well at everything in my life until conflict showed up, until confrontation, and then I would just back down and run away. And the bullies won every time. Now, sometimes the bullies were another person, but just as often the bullies were the internal bullies of fear and self-doubt. And as crazy as it may sound, the inner demons that tell us you're not worthy, that may be the most dangerous bullies of all. I coach salespeople, and having worked with thousands of them, I have discovered that the big bad wolf of personal fears and insecurities probably pushes more of us around than all other types of bullying combined. Either way, the effects are the same. See, the targets of bullying are not bullied because they're too weak to fight back, but because typically they won't stand their ground. When you react to a bully by backing down in fear, the bully just got what they wanted. They got power and they got control. And see, the talk of anti-bullying policy in safe spaces has not worked and will not work because bullies aren't stupid. They're cunning. They're masters of stealth. And just like the big bad wolf, they don't target you when you're in the safe space. And often they're the ones in power, so there is no safe space. So what do you do? Well, the answer is, the third big truth is how fixable it is. And again, this may shock some of you, but the solution is not external. It's internal. It's right here. Bullying will never be conquered at the corporate or public level. It can only be stopped at the personal level. And just like the problem is personal, so is the solution. And that is what Mac finally figured out after being pushed around and humiliated at the beach. He decided to do something about it. Now, he didn't do it alone. He had someone to help him, Charles Atlas, the world's most perfectly built man. He took that free book and he armed himself. Now, notice the one word there, later. Now, that's the hidden word. That is all the hard work required to stop bullying, required to develop the personal strength to stop being bullied. So how did I stop being bullied? Well, for me, I went skydiving. I faced my lifelong greatest fear of heights, and I looked fear right in the face and I jumped. And that day that I jumped out of that airplane in Lake Elsinore, California, I made a commitment. I will never let fear stop me again. I had spent so much of my life avoiding any possible conflict, so long hiding in fear of the bullies, that my greatest bully had become the fear itself. And that day I chose to start living with courage. Now, it wasn't easy. And each person who's been bullied must come to that, that kick the chair moment when you decide you're not going to take it anymore. When you decide that you're not going to wait for someone else to come and rescue you, and you take responsibility for your own future, and then you take action. Now, for me, I started attending self-improvement seminars. I walked on fire at a Tony Robbins event, and step by step, my personal strength and confidence grew. Join a self-defense class, learn martial arts, attend self-improvement seminars, but do something that gives you the confidence and courage and a feeling of personal control. Master self-defense. There is no other solution. Not just physical self-defense, but emotional and psychological self-defense. Because frankly, the vast majority of adult bullying is not physical confrontation. It's a battle of the mind and the will. Become the person that no one can bully, not because they're scared of you, but because there's no power they can take from you. See, personal strength does not make you a bully. It makes you a bully repellent. A master of self-defense may be lethally powerful, but almost never uses it. What Bruce Lee called the art of fighting without fighting. That's not an easy path, but it is the only path that will win. Charles Atlas got it right, almost. To here, personal strength and confidence, that's the solution. And then he blew it right here when he made it about getting even and, of course, about getting sex. But, Charles Atlas was a marketer, not a humanitarian, so we'll give him a little slack. So the answer, personal strength and confidence. Because that you can take with you everywhere. And by the way, so can an 8-year-old on his first day of 3rd grade. Now, I know my mom meant well. And sometimes turning the other cheek may be the right thing to do, but what's going to make the bullies leave you alone is when they know that you didn't have to. And I think our moms will be proud.